And to illustrate that, let me give you a personal example. For 3 years, I learned how to do resocializacija of violent men.
Mogu vam dati svoj lični primer kada govorimo o resocijalizaciji nasilnih muškaraca.
In my country, men, there are classes of legal offenses short of violent felonies in which men can choose to go, because Americans like choice, not only in shopping but in punishments. You can go to jail or you can go to re-education.
U mojoj državi u kojoj se zalažemo za izbor ne samo u šopingu već i pri kažnjavanju, pri određenim vrstama prekršaja muškarci mogu da biraju da li će ići na odsluženje zatvorske kazne ili na neki program edukacije.
That experience changed my life, doing this re-education.
I to iskustvo je promenilo moj život, učestvovanje u tom programu edukacije.
I learned, because we did it every week for 24 weeks, 25 men for 24 weeks.
Mi smo radili sa 25 muškaraca tokom 24 nedelje, svake nedelje.
And I learned very sadly that trying to re-educate violent men in the middle part of their lives is very, very difficult because there are no rewards in patriarchy for being soft and gentle and kind for men.
I, nažalost, ja sam shvatila da je veoma, veoma teško promeniti muškarce koji su, recimo, na polovini svog života i promeniti njihov stav što se tiče nasilja, posebno zbog toga što u patrijarhatu nema nikakve nagrade za one koji postupaju nežno i s poštovanjem.
And what I learned in that re-education was that even as these men had chosen to try to learn nonviolence, they in fact, at some very deep levels, hated women, needed women, were angry at women, and still wanted to control them.
I ono što sam shvatila tokom ovog procesa, da iako su se ti muškarci prijavili i na neki način želeli da promene svoje ponašanje, nekom dubokom psihološkom nivou oni su istovremeno i mrzeli žene, žene su im bile potrebne i naravno želeli su da ih kontrolišu.
When I say hated, please understand, it doesn't mean that those men didn't think they loved their women, but the way in which love was connected with power and control and abuse, in fact, I heard as being, as hating women in many ways, and then being very anxious that they would lose control.
Kada kažem mrzeli su žene, to nije jednostavan termin, ali način na koji su oni objašnjavali svoju ljubav prema ženama, to je bilo do te mere povezano sa pitanjem moći i zloupotrebe, da je kod njih stvaralo neku vrstu anksioznosti i straha da će i na kraju izgubiti kontrolu nad svojim ženama.
That you as activists know this problem, I hope. And recognize how complex this phenomenon is of dealing with violence against women is so very important.
Vi kao aktivistkinje ste sigurno upoznati i susreli ste se sa tim i razumete kompleksnost bavljenja nasiljem.
Why is this so important? Why is your knowledge so important for those of us who are lawyers?
Zašto je vaše znanje, vaše iskustvo važno za nas, pravnike i pravnice?
For those of us who are feminist lawyers, I believe, or in my experience, we think of law and legal practice as a dialogue.
Verujem da feminističke pravnice i pravnici posmatraju pravo kao dijalog.
It's a form of speaking with those who are oppressed, those who've been discriminated against, and to take their words, their needs, their ideals, their hopes, their dreams, and to translate it into what often seems to be the cold, clinical language of law and legal practice.
To je dijalog sa svima onima koji su diskriminisani, koji preživljavaju opresiju i na neki način pretakanje njihovih reči, snova i nada u taj hladni, ono što se čini hladni pravnički rečnik.
But I truly believe, and I think my colleagues would agree, that we depend on your speaking out so that we can speak out even if we are talking in slightly different venues or forums. You with your clients, you as NGOs, we trying to deal with prosecutors and judges who often don't have a clue of how deeply misogynistic and stereotypical their responses are.
Nama ste potrebni vi, potrebno je da progovorite, potrebno je da prenesete potrebe onih sa kojima radite, kako bismo mi mogli takođe da vas zastupamo i iako radimo u različitim forumima, na različitim mestima, delimo zajednički cilj, a mi onda moramo to da prenesemo sudijama, tužiocima i svima onima koji nemaju pojma o vašem radu.
And so just as we as lawyers cherish and are inspired by your work and your courage, I hope you too will love your feminist lawyers.
I kao što smo mi inspirisane i jako cenimo vaš rad, nadamo se da ćete i vi biti inspirisane feminističkim advokaticama, pravnicama i pravnicima.
Because what we are both doing as activists and as lawyers is we are speaking truth to power.
Jer ono što i vi i mi radimo je govorimo istinu o moći.
And we both know that silence is death.
I sve znamo da je ćutanje smrt.
So even though you live in a system which is to an outsider confusing, sometimes I think there really isn't even a state. They're just a sort of a series of political clientele and political thugs who are running the country. I say from the bottom of my heart, I applaud your courage, and I urge you not to be silent, even in the face of the situations which you find yourself.
I iako živite u društvu koje nekome sa strane može izgledati kao da čak nije ni uređena država u kojoj samo postoje neki politički akteri i nasilnici koji tu raspoređuju međusobnu moć, iz dubine svoje duše vam aplaudiram i zahvaljujem se na hrabrosti da progovorite u situaciji u kojoj se svakodnevno nalazite i u raznim situacijama u kojima se svakodnevno nalazite.
What we both share, even though lawyers take an oath to uphold the constitution of their countries, is that as feminists, we don't ever fully trust the state.
I ono što takođe delimo, iako mi kao pravnici polažemo zakletvu da ćemo se držati ustava naše države, i feminističke advokatice i aktivistkinje, mi nikada potpuno ne verujemo državi.
I have the sense in your country that people generally are more polite. Europeans are more polite than Americans anyway.
U vašoj zemlji imam utisak da ste mnogo ljubazniji, imam utisak da su Evropljani inače mnogo ljubazniji nego Amerikanci.
And so very often here people will say, report things in conversations, and they'll say some perfectly awful thing happened, and then they say, oh, never mind.
I često čak i u običnom govoru, mislim u razgovoru, ljudi bi pričali o nekoj jako strašnoj stvari i onda bi rekli nema veze.
To someone from my culture, from America, that's astonishing. I mean, you're telling me on the one hand a terrible thing happened, and then you're telling me, well, don't really think about it. It's very confusing for me.
Za mene je to jako zbunjujuće, posebno za moju kulturu. S jedne strane mi kažete nešto potpuno strašno, onda kažete nema veze. Jako zbunjujuće.
So, although we can't have this full discussion about anger, let me say this. certainly in the experience of feminism and the campaign against violence against women in my country, we recognize and acknowledge that we are angry women.
I dozvolite mi da kažem da u feminizmu i kampanjama koje vodimo imamo pravo da kažemo da smo mi ljute žene.
In fact, there's a wonderful group called No More Nice Girls.
Postoji jedna divna grupa koja se zove Nema više finih devojaka.
Because we understand, and I think as lawyers we understand as well, that you can take anger and channel it constructively, and it can be a powerful force for saying, I am entitled as a member of this society and a citizen of this country to the full rights the full human rights that my country has obligated itself to.
Mi smo svesni kao pravnice da je moguće taj bes i tu ljutnju kanalisati u konstruktivnu akciju koja će dovesti do toga da kažemo mi smo ljute jer kao pripadnice ovog društva i građanke ovog društva imamo pravo na sve ono što društvo treba da nam pruži.
So I wish you well, I wish you great success, I wish you moments of joy. I know you will experience sadness and frustration, but I can only say, in the words of the wonderful poet Audre Lorde, who is an African American and a feminist and an activist and a lesbian, Audre Lorde once said, I am not a free woman so long as any other woman is in chains.
Želim vam mnogo sreće, mnogo uspeha, mnogo trenutaka radosti, iako znam da će biti i tuge i frustracija. I želim da završim rečima velike pesnikinje, aktivistkinje, lezbijke Audre Lorde, koja je rekla ja nisam slobodna žena sve dok je jedna žena u lancima.
Thank you very much.